Good afternoon. Today at my new school where I'm teaching, I ran into an abnormal situation. Well, first of all, what was unusual is that I spent my first week conducting oral exams to my students. I was asking them a few questions, not grading them per se, well, grading them, but not counting them towards their final grade, but to see how good their English was, to see how well they can perform. Now, that's not what threw me off. What really caught me off guard was one of my 11th graders, a young girl in one of my 11th grade classes today, got a little nervous as she came towards me. I called her name, and then the closer she got, she started crying. I was wondering, what's wrong? Why is this girl so upset? It doesn't make any sense. I didn't do anything to upset her. I was gonna ask her only 3 or 4 questions, like I did every other student, just to see how well their English was. Well, nonetheless, I made a judgment call because I didn't want to make it any more awkward for her than it already was, and I only asked her 2 questions and told her she could go sit down. So I then asked her classmates what the problem was. The girl who I asked said the reason why that young girl was upset and started crying was because my beard reminded her of Santa Claus and she's afraid of Santa Claus. So that's the reason why I bring that up is because that's not the first time I've heard people say I look scary. Now, that's the first time I've ever saw someone start crying when they came near me, but I do remember one of my friends saying, "Oh, you look scary." Yeah, when he saw me with my beard. But now he knows I'm anything but that. The reason why I grew this beard, first of all, was because I want the viewers to see me evolve, just like Walter White did on Breaking Bad, number one. But the main reason I did it is because my hair is getting thinner, so I'm doing it to draw everybody's attention away from my face. I do it also because it makes me feel stronger and more dominant, like an alpha male, makes me feel more manly, because when I was clean shaven and I had my thinning hair, I looked and felt like a cupcake. I read somewhere that guys that have great hair, that never have to worry about going bald, guys like Richard Gere, they can only grow peach fuzz. They can't grow much facial hair. Whereas guys who are going bald like me, we can grow thicker beards. I had this conversation with one of my colleagues who's got great hair, but he can only grow peach fuzz. And he asked me, why is that? So I explained the reason is because guys like me, our bodies produce more DHT, which stands for dihydrotestosterone. Dihydrotestosterone is the hormone that not only causes hair loss but also causes you to grow more facial hair. Now, maybe it makes me look menacing. For that, I'm sorry. But the reason I bring this up is because oftentimes people are the exact opposite of how they look or how they're portrayed on TV. For instance, Lena Headey on Game of Thrones, who plays Cersei Lannister, the character she plays is ruthless and cruel, heartless, the most evil lady on TV, easily, or if not on the short list. That's who she plays. That's good acting. But she's nothing like that in real life. I've heard she's a real doll in real life, that she's really sweet and she's really fun to be around. I know for a fact that Jeffrey Dean Morgan, the guy who plays Negan on The Walking Dead, is nothing like his character on that show. I know Negan is ruthless, he's mean, he's cruel, he's a psychopath, he's a sociopath. Um, the kind of guy you don't want marrying your sister, obviously. But when I read interviews done by Andrew Lincoln, the guy who plays Rick Grimes, and by Norman Reedus, who plays Daryl, they both said they loved working with Jeffrey Dean Morgan because he's a really nice guy, he's really down to earth, he's really fun to work with, and he's got a really bubbly personality. A few people here in Vietnam thought I was a little obnoxious and overbearing at first. but it took them an hour to get to know me, know that I'm a nice guy. My boss, who knows me, has even gone to bat for me a few times, said, "Oh no, he's a really nice guy. He's really sweet. He always looks after people. He's really honest. He's really kind and caring." That's kind of like the creatures, tarantulas and raccoons. If you see a tarantula, I know it looks scary, it looks deadly. Everybody thinks that the tarantula is going to bite it and inject the person full of their venom and that the person's going to die and start croaking because they saw that movie Arachnophobia. Tarantulas are harmless. In fact, I'm told they make great pets. Even Goliath bird eaters, the biggest spiders you've ever seen, they're harmless. They're not dangerous to humans at all. They don't inject venom like black widows and brown recluses do. Now, that leads me to another point. Raccoons. Raccoons look cute, cuddly, and adorable. They look like they would make great pets, but those things are lethal. You know, a lot of them carry rabies. I brought that up because a friend of mine, his cat was killed by a raccoon. Raccoons are vile, mean, vicious creatures. I know they look the exact opposite. They look like they'd make great stuffed animals, but they're not. That's one reason why serial killers are so dangerous sometimes. Ted Bundy, he looked like a regular all American boy. Clean cut, charming, handsome, statuesque. He was even very eloquent and very intelligent. He was the last person on earth anybody ever suspected to be a serial killer. But history goes to show you he was one of the most prolific serial killers in the entire history of the United States. Most of them don't look psychotic and crazy like Charles Manson did. Charles Manson actually wasn't a serial killer or even a mass murderer, by that matter. Some people would classify him that, but he was more of a cult leader. Now, his followers did most of the killing, but nonetheless, Charles Manson and Ted Bundy are in completely different leagues. Now, the reason why I have my beard like this now, I comb my beard forward like this. Because I want it to give, for three reasons. Number one, it makes me look more like Ragnar Lothbrok, my favorite character on Vikings, because the Vikings have the square beards. That leads me to number two. When you comb your beard like this underneath, it gives you more of a square look. It accentuates the jawline. But also, I do that because I drive around on a motorcycle and I had to put the strap underneath my chin, and when I comb my beard back, it makes it more awkward, so it's easier for me to put on my motorcycle helmet. That's just like, for example, clowns. There's tons of people out there that are afraid of clowns. By the way, the $10 word for fear or dislike of clowns is coulrophobia. 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 Lots and lots of people are afraid of clowns. I don't know why, but I've been hearing stories in the United States about people shooting at people dressed up as clowns. A lot of people would not even bother dressing up as clowns for Halloween. Few places, to my understanding, even made it illegal. I don't know why people are afraid of clowns. I guess because they saw Stephen King's It too much, or maybe they saw Captain Spaulding from House of a Thousand Corpses and The Devil's Rejects. I'm not afraid of clowns at all, personally, because I went to the circus when I was a young child. I thought clowns were amusing and fun and entertaining. The only clown that ever scared me was Pennywise, and that's only because he transformed into everybody's biggest fear. I read the book It. I used to be a big fan of Stephen King. Like, one of the characters on there was terrified of the Frankenstein monster. It knew that, so he transformed into the Frankenstein monster. Another character was afraid of werewolves, so it transformed into a werewolf. For whatever reason, the default form of it was Pennywise the Clown. I guess he did that to lure children in. But the point I'm making is you can't judge a book by its cover. And one thing I have learned in my short 37 years of existence is people are oftentimes the exact opposite of how they looked. Like I said, Ted Bundy looked like a really nice guy. He looked really distinguished, but he was a ruthless serial killer. As was John Wayne Gacy, as was Jeffrey Dahmer, um, many other people, even Donald Trump. Donald Trump looks like the kind of guy who's very organized. He looks like he's got all his shit together. He looks intelligent. He looks like he's got a plan. But the more I get to know the guy doesn't have a damn clue what's going on. He's in over his head. He not only doesn't have the right temperament to be president, he doesn't have the aptitude. That's like Barack Obama. A lot of people thought Barack Obama wasn't presidential material for whatever reason. Well, first of all, none of them will ever admit the fact that they were racist and wouldn't want a black man in the White House anyway, number one. But number two, because he had a non Anglo Saxon sounding name, Barack Hussein Obama, all of a sudden that sounds like an Islamic name, made people think that he was a terrorist. That got buffoons like Donald Trump to start questioning his candidacy and made him present his birth certificate. They gave Barack Obama all kinds of hell. And Barack Obama, by the way, handled his 8 years in office like a champ. I'm quite impressed by that guy's disposition, his calm, cool, and collected demeanor. Now, Barack Obama, who everybody thought was born in Kenya and was Muslim, actually was born in Hawaii. And most of those birthers forgot about that Reverend in Chicago. What's his name? Jeremiah Wright, the one who said, "Goddamn America," that one speech. He wasn't shaming America, the country itself. He was criticizing the American government for supporting apartheid in South Africa and also for supporting the government in Israel that's been dropping a lot of bombs on the Palestinians, continuing their aggression towards Palestine. That's what he was shaming. That's the church that Barack Obama attended, which means that Barack Obama was Christian. And all those birthers out there who still think that Barack Obama is a Muslim and a terrorist, forgot the fact that Barack Obama killed Osama bin Laden. Now, I know people are going to say, well, he wasn't there, he didn't pull the trigger, he didn't lead the mission, but Barack Obama gave the order. Adolf Hitler never killed anybody, but many Jews and other people lost their lives under the watch of Hitler. Hitler never even visited any of his concentration camps, by the way. Most of that stuff was all done by Heinrich Himmler, the head of the Schutzstaffel. But Hitler was still responsible for the death and extermination of 6 million Jews and 20 million other people. Hitler may have looked like a gentleman, like a distinguished person, and he was a very intelligent man, no doubt. He was a genius. He got Germany out of the Great Recession and built the Autobahn. But after winning everybody's approval over the 6-year course that he'd been in office, that's when the mask fell off. And by the time people caught on, it was too late. But that's also why after World War II, that toothbrush mustache went out of style. Even Charlie Chaplin shaved his off. How I went off on this tangent, I don't know. But the bottom line is, many times, and probably most times, most people are the exact opposite of the way they appear. That explains why a lot of supermodels are so damn stuck up and self-important and conceited. That's why the women that the guys like to rank as the 9s and the 10s, they usually tend to be higher maintenance because they're used to guys hitting on them all the time, so they think they can raise their standards to the moon and keep swinging for the moon all the time rather than just the fences because they're so accustomed to men always bowing down to them and rolling out a red carpet for them. They act like spoiled brats. But I assure you, I am not an axe murderer. I know my beard may make me look like a barbarian or a savage. I did that because I don't want to look like a cupcake anymore, and like I said, it gives me bad boy sex appeal, in my humble opinion. I'm taking advantage of the genes that I have, the genes I was given, the playing the cards that I was dealt. I can't obviously grow a nice full head of hair, but I can grow a thick beard, and that's why I'm doing that. That girl probably was freaked out because you don't really see too many Asian men with thick beards. That's because most Asian men, period, they don't have the right genetics. They don't grow much body hair, and that's why you never see any bald Asian men hardly. You might see a few of them here and there, and those are probably the guys that can grow thicker beards, like Ho Chi Minh. So, I hope this message made an impact on the viewer and that people will realize that you shouldn't always judge a book by its cover. And one more thing before I go. That's another thing is whenever you get bitten by a rattlesnake, they say if you get bit by a baby rattlesnake, you're actually more likely to die than you would be if you got bitten by an adult rattlesnake. And the reason being is because the baby rattlesnake will inject every last amount of venom it's got into its prey. They don't know how to stop, they have no self control. The adult rattlesnake will inject just as much enough venom to paralyze or, possibly kill its prey. That's the same with scorpions. That reminds me of that movie Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, where Indy and his son, Mutt Williams, were walking through those artifacts in Peru, and Mutt said, I just got stung by a scorpion. And Indy said, was it a big one or a little one? And Mutt said, it was a big one. It was huge. It was enormous. And Indy said, good. If it's a big one, you're all right. If it's a little one, don't keep it to yourself. Same with people. Like I said, going back to people. You look at Jet Li. The guy looks harmless. He looks like a cupcake, but he's lethal. If you were to put him in a fight with every other guy that you see in the Expendables movies, I can guarantee you Jet Li would smoke every one of their asses. So, I just want to let you know that I had to get this off my chest, and like I said, I hope this will leave an impact on everybody. In the meantime, I will keep everybody else surprised of what's going on here in Ho Chi Minh City, and I wish you all a good day. Thank you. Bye.